Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to 25 years of Loch Duart, 25 years of doing things differently. Okay, now doing things differently gives you the best tasting salmon with the lowest impact on the environment. Doing things differently, you're raising the bar on fish welfare to be the first RSPCA accredited salmon supplier. Doing things differently gives you a wild, descended, 100% Scottish salmon. But at the heart of that and central to that is a firm belief that you are what you eat. We believe that the best tasting salmon needs the best feed. We believe that wild descended salmon needs a feed that actually replicates what wild salmon would eat, which is a high marine content diet. Traditionally, feeding farm salmon with high marine content raised concerns about using the ocean's resources, but we don't feel that that is impossible. We feel we can have the best of both worlds. What we'd like to introduce to you today is an absolutely game-changing feed. We're prioritising low-impact ingredients, but still living the dream of Loch Duart's 25 years in heritage. I'd like to introduce you firstly Rob from BioMar and the Loch Duart Blue Impact Diet.
Good afternoon. Blue Impact is BioMar's global brand for sustainability. I'd like to take credit in the UK that it was our idea, but it's really the brainchild of our global sustainability team. And I think what really resonated with us, and I think with Loch Duart when we first discussed this, is that it looks at sustainability as a holistic view, so in the whole. We had a number of inquiries about trying to make more and more sustainable feeds, but everything was one-dimensional. We'd like to reduce our marine content. We'd like to reduce our CO2. Can you put a bit of insect meal in because then I'm more sustainable? Where Blue Impact has changed that is it's looking at all of the key drivers of sustainability and treating them as a whole. So for us, we looked at those three sustainability drivers, the ones that we felt had most effect, and that was CO2, circular and restorative ingredients, and an FFDR of below 0.7. So when we look at CO2, the Blue Impact target is 2 kilos of CO2 equivalent for each kilo of feed. That's the minimum target that we've set today. As we go through the Blue journey, we will decrease these targets over time. And to give you some idea of what 2 kilos means, the average salmon in Norway is somewhere between 2.3 and 3 kilos of CO2. We want to encourage the use of circular and restorative ingredients, so we've set a minimum target of 25% circular and restorative ingredients in the feed. What we mean by circular is byproducts which has no impact or has just gone to waste, and restorative ingredients are raw materials or suppliers who make raw materials who have a significantly lower environmental impact than the average. And that way we're encouraging farmers for more sustainable farming practices. The last one, FFDR, which is forage fish dependency ratio, so the amount of wild fish you're using to generate a kilo of feed, and we said that needs to be less than 0.7 to qualify. 0.7 with an average feed conversion would give you an FFDR of the fish of less than 1. So the idea is you get more fish out than you've put in. The other factor that we've taken in this, we also want healthy fish. So we've set minimum levels of omega-3s to promote health in the fish and the end consumer. The other challenge that, as we discussed this with Loch Duart, is they did say they do realise that we have PCBs and dioxins which accumulate in fats within fish, in oily fish, and so they set us the target to reduce our PCBs and dioxins in these diets by 50%.
There's one thing that drives us at Loch Duart, and it's to have the best tasting salmon with the lowest impact. We're absolutely obsessed with quality. So anything we do in our diet and anything we do with Rob and BioMar, it cannot affect our quality. In fact, we always want that very high bar. And it's because we've got a different broodstock, we've got different genetics within Loch Duart. It's descended from wild fish in 1970s from Scotland. We take those eggs every single year from the best looking salmon we have, and we continue that process. So it's a different genetics in there, and we need that to be at a very high level. We're very small scale. So what does that mean? Our total volume at the moment is around about 6,000 tonnes, which actually isn't a huge deal. But we double that up with a very low impact on how we farm. Our density, for example, is very low compared to others because we're trying to do things in the right way. Now, part of that right way includes having a very high marine content, and that's where we come up with a real quandary. So we want to have a very high marine, we want to have a very high omega-3 level, and we want to have this very healthy diet, and we want to have a very, very low FFDR, and we want it to have very low dioxins. So that was a challenge we set. BioMar, a very hefty challenge, and it's why we're delighted to be part of it.
We introduced Loch Duet to Blue Impact Feeds Q4 of 2022,
Yep.
and by Q1 2023 they'd switched their new generation fish onto it. So now these are the results of that first generation of fish, and this will be some of the fish that you'll be sampling now. So the first Blue Impact target is 2 kilos of CO2 per kilo of feed. We're managing to hit 1. That's already in the blue scale in our speedometer there, so it's already hit the highest standard that we think is achievable. We've reduced Loch Duet's carbon by more than 56.5%, and it's responsible farming for the future.
Circular and restorative, we want to be at the absolute forefront. We want to be pushing the boundaries on this. This is actually the really sexy bit from my point of view when we started becoming involved with the Blue Impact diet, because having a very high marine content meant that we had a high responsibility of not taking any more resources from the sea than we absolutely had to. So using trimmings and cleverly using waste from trimmings from the food industry, it felt like that was the right thing to do. Not fishing to feed fish seemed like a really nice thing to do. Protecting the world's resources felt like a really nice thing to do while maintaining that very high level of omega-3.
And probably the most surprising element here is for a fish that's high in marine content, it has an FFDR of 0.33. That's using 3 times less fish than they have done previously in previous generations. If I put that into some context, with a normal FCR, that will give them an FFDR of about half. For every 2 kilos of salmon that Loch Duet produce, they only use 1 kilo of wild fish. But they've still maintained high marine content, all the healthy benefits of high omega-3s, and it's given them a very, very positive marine output.
As Rob said, we've been doing this for a couple of years now with the Blue Impact diet, but what we changed last April was something that was, again, another step change and an absolute game changer for us. You heard me say you are what you eat, and we want the people who eat Loch Duet to realise that they're eating not just the best quality, but actually some of the most healthiest product they can have. So when we were hearing that potentially there's research in the level of PCBs and dioxins in the North Atlantic, we wanted to get ahead of that and stick to our claims that you are what you eat. By feeding the best feed, we can create the best food for ourselves. So we decided to have all those oils triple cleaned to make sure that those levels of dioxins are absolutely reduced, so that we can say to our consumers that you've got the healthiest salmon with twice as much omega-3 potentially, with cleaner oils that don't have these PCBs and dioxins or much less reduced. So if there's ever a case where globally we say you can only have 1 piece of salmon a week, we can say, well, not Loch Duet, you can have it every single day. So we want to continue that claim to maintain that level of assurance to all of our consumers.
This now is a best-in-class feed for Labo Rouge. It's meeting all of our Blue Impact targets and some, and we believe when compare it to like for other Labo Rouge feeds, it's head and shoulders above the rest. But more than that, using our Blue Impact parameters, we believe that this is the most sustainable salmon diet that BioMar have ever produced. And therefore...
Wow, underlined. That really is the key snapshot of this. But listen, we're listening to a couple of guys in the trade talk about this. What I would like to do just now is introduce you to Thomas Leatherbarrows, a chef we've been working with for a while, to give an element of what he's heard and how does that impact our main customers, which is inherently the chef community.
Hi, Chris. So what it means for chefs is that, so we operate on a global scale as a business, and we find that a lot of our clientele now are chasing that sustainability, that sourcing, procurement, and it's becoming a real key focus for us. So to work with a company such as Locked for their produce and their marine content, but not only that, the quality and the sustainability practices and the welfare that go into harvesting the fish and growing the fish is really refreshing for us as a business, and to be able to work with a company. And you do tell the difference between the flesh texture, how the fish comes out, even down to when it's in full rigor and you're pin boning it. It all makes a difference into that diet that it has, and that finished product and the final mouthfeel that you guys get if you come to a restaurant or if you have it as a dining experience, whether it be raw, whether it be cooked in any cuisine. The impact that it has is that you're increasing the levels and the flavor profile in the fish. The flesh becomes a lot more firmer, it's a lot more meatier, and you're actually getting more substance per fillet than what you would do if you're buying a 6-7 kilo fish versus a 4 or 5 kilo fish from Locked. And that's what we're trying to change in the market. And I think it's fantastic to work with companies like Biomar and see the work. And I'm not just saying that this read it from a script. Like, we've been out to all of the sites up at Locked. We've been in awful weather, as you can imagine, in Scotland. And to see it actually put into action and hear the stories from the guys at Locked and what it means to them as well. It really is a company that care about what they're doing and the environment and the impact they're having. So to be able to work with these guys and use the product and showcase it around the world really is beneficial to us for a business. And we get requests quite often from clients to say, we want Locked salmon. So, and we're happy to provide that to our clientele because we know the story behind it.
Amazing. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Tom. So listen, yes, we are here to celebrate 25 years. 25 years of doing things differently, and it's brilliant to hear from a chef of how that all equates and translates into something that we start from a very small egg all the way through with all that care and attention, with the best quality feed to get something that the restaurateurs really love. Now, one promise for you. Next 25 years is going to be challenging, it's going to be tough, but we're going to continue to do things differently, we're going to continue to innovate, and we're going to continue to push the boundaries. That's an absolute promise. So celebrate with us and come and have a bite to eat and a beer or a glass of wine. And if you've got any more questions, please feel free to grab one of the three of us. Thank you.